John, today's question comes from Dan. And Dan says, I enjoyed your podcast regarding using IRA funds for long-term care and the information about eligibility for Medicaid in Texas. But I have a question. If monthly income from the IRA exceeds $2,908 for a single person, would that not result in disqualification for Medicaid?
Fantastic question.
Yeah.
So the government has dumb rules. Did you know this?
Well, Well,
if this was news, the government has dumb rules. And one of the dumbest is the Medicaid income cap.
okay.
All right. So, and not all states have an income cap, but many states do. So Medicaid's essentially a two-part test. There's an income test and there's an asset test.
Right.
And we were in that previous episode, we were talking about assets and how those affect Medicaid eligibility. But his question was, well, what about the income test? And he's right here that there is a income cap that says that if you have more than $2,908, then you're not eligible on the income side of things.
Right.
Which sounds like a rule,
It does to me.
except it's not the rule.
Oh, okay.
It is the rule, but it's not the rule.
Okay.
And so now go back. So we'll go back in time. Right?
Sounds like something we need attorneys to get more involved in, right?
Absolutely, right? So here's the problem. Here's the kind of the fundamental problem is what's the actual cost of nursing home? Right? $6,000-$7,000.
Yep. In Texas, about that.
So you have this income cap that says if you make more than $2,900 a month, you don't qualify for Medicaid. But if somebody has no assets and they've got $3,000 a month in income, how do they pay for a $7,000 nursing home?
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't work, right? So go back in time, and there was a case where there was a lawsuit related to this. The name of the case was Miller versus Ibarra. May have been in Philadelphia. I can't confirm that. But basically, it was addressing this issue of you've got this income cap, but then people can't afford the care. So it's a no-win situation. That law was settled, and the result of that law was then later codified into the federal Medicaid rules. And this created what is technically referred to as a qualified income trust, more commonly, or at least historically, often referred to as a Miller trust from the Miller versus Ibarra, right? So you'll hear these terms used interchangeably, Miller trust or qualified income trust. But let's just use you as an example, Devin.
Okay.
So you're going to the nursing home, you're a single guy, you got $3,000 a month in income.
Gotcha.
So you don't qualify. Except, here's what you're going to have to do, or your family. They're going to create this written trust document. That's very simple, about 1 page, maybe 2, for a qualified income trust.
Okay.
You or your agent is going to sign that. You're going to go over to the bank and you're going to open up a brand new bank account.
Okay.
Now, ordinarily, if you had just gotten on Medicaid, let's say your income was $2,800 a month, right? You were below the limit. Well, then your income would go to the nursing home each month, minus a personal needs allowance, and then the state would pay the balance, right? That's normally what would happen.
Okay.
Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go take that trust agreement, go over to your bank, open up a brand new bank account. Now, when your Social Security and your pension check comes in, or that RMD, right? You're going to take it out of bank account number 1 and move it into this new bank account number 2. Then you're going to pay it out of bank account number 2, minus the personal needs allowance, to the nursing home.
Excellent.
So here's the deal. There's no income cap. There is in the law. It says if you have more than $2,900, you don't qualify, but there's a comma, not a period at the end of that, because the comma is, but if you have over that, we're still going to qualify you. You're just going to have to do this ridiculously no-purpose 2-step of opening up a separate bank account.
That is crazy.
Moving the money into the new bank account and then paying it to the nursing home just like you were going to do anyway.
That's insane.
And we're going to create a number of traps here. Because how many of your clients get their Social Security check on the first of the month?
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
What happens when that check, what happens when the first falls on a Sunday?
Monday, right?
No.
Friday.
Often the Friday before.
Yes. And it'd be in the same month in some cases.
And so sometimes you could even get 2 checks in the same month.
Yeah.
Medicaid eligibility is determined on the first day of the month. And on the asset test, you have to have less than $2,000 in your bank account. What happens if your check comes in on the 31st?
Yeah. And that money's still there.
And it's still there. This is all dumb. None of this makes any sense. I have people when they come in and they say, we're trying to get mom on Medicaid. She doesn't have any assets, but she's got $3,000, $3,500 a month. I'm like, all right, I'm about to tell you a story. And when I get done telling you this story, you're going to look at me like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
There's no answer.
Well, I thought what you were describing was some of the little legal loopholes to sidestep that and qualify for Medicaid. But it sounds like what you're saying is that, no, this is actually a requirement.
This is not a loophole. This is codified. This is a statute in the federal law that says if you're above the income limit,
that's insane.
Then you can do this little ridiculous 2-step dance, and now it doesn't matter that you're
makes
over
no
the
sense.
limit.
No sense.
Doesn't matter whatsoever. But to Dan's question, and really this goes to anybody, particularly in states with an income cap, if somebody says, well, you have too much monthly income to qualify for long-term care Medicaid, that statement is wrong 100% of the time.
Gotcha.
It's just that if you're above the limit, you're going to have to use a qualified income trust, and then you qualify.
Well, so let me back up a second just to make sure that I paint the picture correctly. Let's say for that normal individual, they have no assets, but they do have $3,000 a month coming in. Now they need care. Let's say that they don't have a family to go set up this Miller Trust and do all the gyrations. What happens?
Well, they won't qualify unless they do it.
Really?
Now, a lot of times if they're in a nursing home and there's no family around, somehow that trust gets created, maybe by the facility itself.
Yeah.
They want to get paid.
It's a miracle.
And it's amazing.
Yes.
But I have had situations where, and this is to your point though, where somebody went to the nursing home and for the benefit of the doubt, well-meaning but uninformed business office people at the nursing home said, well, we'll assist you with your Medicaid application. What they mean is that you bring us all the information, we'll send it to the government.
Yeah.
Without any knowledge related to whether or not that application means you're qualified, right? Mm-hmm. They don't say that. So the family's interpretation is that, well, they're going to help me qualify.
Right.
Not help me apply. There's a slight difference, but it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And what happens is they send that Medicaid, and I actually just got an email from somebody here in the last day or two. Mom went to the nursing home. They gave all the information to the facility. The facility sent the information off. It took Medicaid 4 months to process the application. And at the end of the 4 months, Medicaid came back and said, you're disqualified because you're over the income limit. Well, of course, now the facility says, well, we would like $27,000 for the last 4 or 5 months of nursing home care. And of course, they're like, well, how do we get qualified? Well, you set up a QIT.
Yeah.
And start doing this ridiculous little 2-step. I mean, that's all we have to do? Yeah. Could we have done that this whole time? Yeah. Well, how come nobody told us? Don't know.
I'm assuming they weren't your client 5 months ago, though.
That's correct.
To clarify.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't an error on your part.
Because they've got this denial letter and they got a bill from a nursing home for $25,000. Mom's got no money,
Gotcha.
And so, yes. So anyway, all that to say, there is an income cap, sort of, but not really.
Well, that makes more sense and less sense at the same time.
As it should.
Fantastic. Well, Dan, thank you for your question. And to the rest of our listeners, if you want to leave us a question, you can go to bigpictureretirement.com.
That's right, up in the little top corner.
Up there it says, ask a question, and that'll open up a form, and you can leave your question there. We've been getting lots of them. So we'll be right back with another episode. Oh, and reviews. John, we've been getting some fantastic reviews, too.
Yeah.
Excellent reviews. We'll cover some of those in detail in another episode, but it sure does help us when we get these reviews.
Yeah, it's always nice.
It helps us a lot because the more reviews that we have, the more ratings that we have, not YouTube, but Apple Podcasts, Spotify, they tend to share this with more people. So it's good stuff. All right. Until next week, thank you guys for listening.